All right, this is the first episode of, honestly, I don't got a fucking name, so I'll name this Jawn later. But basically today, first off, let me backtrack. Darren, I also go by Bxndanas, whatever you want to call me, D-League, whatever. This is my guy Marcus, MarqMeauxs. This is my guy Ahmad.
Sir.
And we'll come together, talk some shit about, the creative life, being a creativity, what that looks like, the struggles, the ups, the downs, and everything in between.
Exclusive content. Right?
Exclusive content. We're gonna add some sounds of some dumb shit later on.
Yeah.
But the first topic I actually wanted to touch on is the topic of content versus artistry. The reason I bring that up is just because I'm seeing a lot of shit nowadays and a lot of things nowadays where it's just like this rush or this constant need to want to get content out. Like, I gotta post every hour on the hour. I gotta make sure I got this joint up on my story. I gotta make sure I do this, and I gotta make sure I do that. And it kind of takes, I won't say it takes the fun out of it, but it kind of feels like it takes some of the love out of it, kind of, sort of, like
the passion.
Like it can, because it's just like you get overly concerned with deadlines and meeting deadlines, and it's like, it's kind of like when you first start off versus like now you're at this point. Like when you first start off and you got a project that you're working on, you kind of get in the room, you lock in, you like, I got some time to spend with this joint. Like this joint will be my baby. Versus like, fuck, I gotta post this joint tomorrow. Like I gotta post this tomorrow at 1 o'clock when niggas is heading to lunch and they looking at their phones and they on Instagram. Like I gotta make sure I have this up so that everybody sees it. Or I gotta post this at 9 or 10 in the morning when I'm on my way to work. Because if I'm on my way to work, everybody else is too.
Right.
So it's just like,
you think it's the labels that's pushing them to do this, or is it them themselves? Like,
but the thing is, I don't even think it's just like it's not even just major people. It's just like regular everyday like
artists. It's every part.
Everybody's on the clock. That's what you're saying. Like based on like the need to. It's like a rush or like an anxiety type that we're all getting to, like that we feel the need to do something, like post something or drop something. As far as artists, like. Yeah, you might be right on that, but
I think it has to do with like the way the world is at this point. Like, so the world is like this, like, it's like this instant gratification thing, but then it's also like what's next? What's next? Like every second or hour, day or minute, you're always like, what's next? That's why like your music probably isn't even like, you're probably not listening to the same thing that you was listening to 2 months ago.
Facts.
Just off the strength of like. You just like, all right, I ran it into the ground, like maybe within a week. Like, what's next?
Nah, that's a fact. Because I would say personally, it's hard for me to maintain like one album with all the content that's dropping out today. Like it kind of takes my passion from listening to music itself. Like I can't really stick to one album. Like I remember back in the day when you had the CD. You know what I mean? You would just listen to that album for months.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you would, before you even switched the album, you knew every word on that shit from top to bottom.
Skipping because you can't play no more. You got a disc cleaner and all that.
For me, I barely even go down the list. I look at on iTunes on the stars. Whatever the song's got the stars next to it, those might get a play out of me. You know what I mean? So I can't even really. It's crazy because like we're all like, what's the even word? Like we're all just conditioned for all of this shit nowadays. It's just crazy how society is.
Let me ask you, Mark, because I know you do a couple of things like a lot of shit creatively, honestly, like music. You got Schuylkill Yacht Club, you got Jawn Clothing. So, like, do you ever feel like a need to like try to meet some sort of deadline with any of the shit that you do? Like, you ever feel like, fuck, it's been a while. Let me hurry up and throw this out there, or I gotta put out this hoodie color for the summertime, not hoodie, but like this t-shirt color for the summertime, or the wintertime coming up. What's the colorways? I gotta have this. I gotta meet these marks. Like
it's so difficult. It's so difficult. Like it gets to the point, for me at least, it gets to the point where like it can create a sense of anxiety. It's like, oh shit. Like right now, for example, it's March. The weather is starting to break a little bit.
Facts.
I'm like, all right, but it's still cool. So it's like, okay, I can drop hoodies right now. I could also probably drop tees right now. Regardless, I need to drop something right now to you know what I mean, gain some momentum as I go into the summertime.
Right.
But like as a creative or as a working creative, you might not even be there mentally to even pull that off. You might not be there, you know what I mean, with your schedule, with your life, with whatever's going on. So it puts a lot of pressure on you. I will say, me personally, I fight against like this societal like thing. Like when it comes to my music, I'll run entirely through an album slowly, find one song, bang that on repeat all week, maybe find another. Like I really fight it personally. Even like with my content, I beat myself over the head about it like later on, but like I don't post as much as I should. And so it's like it's a battle, because at the same time, if you're a business person, you do want to push a bunch of content out consistently, because your fan base forgets about you, because they're gonna see content from everyone else.
It's microwave shit. It's like everything's microwave now. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
You press the 30-second button twice, and when your minute is up, it's like, all right, I gotta put some other shit in the microwave. Like, I had oodles and noodles a day. Maybe I want to microwave something else today. It's like everything's fucking microwave. It's like, fuck. Like,
but do you think that as you do that, dropping all that content, do you think that actually can like make or break you? Because like if you overload content, you know what I mean? Like can a consumer or whoever you go through kind of get like, all right, you're doing too much. Like that's the only thing it's really a gift and a curse. You want to overload and drop, because they always say drop as much content as you can while you have the buzz or whatever, any type of situation. But then it's like, all right, now you're overloading me with this work.
For sure. That,
I mean? So
I feel like that definitely happens. But then it's just like you get into the discussion, like who's the outliers, like who's the enigmas, like like for example, since we like talking about music a lot, like you'll take somebody like Frank Ocean or like Kendrick Lamar, like somebody who, or shit like Andre 3000, like you'd be lucky to get a verse out of him every 6 years at this point. So it's like you get these enigmas. It's just like it's just for some reason everybody feels like they don't gotta drop content. Like I'm not looking for them to drop. Maybe people are looking for them to drop.
But as artists, we're fiending for that content. Yeah. If you really, I mean, not as artists, as listeners, if you really think about it, you're like, come on, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, but that builds up that you know what I mean?
But like you don't throw them away when you do. Like Frank Ocean dropped Channel Launch, and then what was it, like 2-3 years later he dropped Blind, and then it was like
2016.
It was a minute.
Yeah, actually. That was the last time.
And then you like
Rihanna and shit. Yeah.
Damn, like Blind was fire. I wonder when the next project gonna come out. And it's been years, and it's not like you forgot about him. It's just like, fuck, like when is it going? When is he going to drop something?
He's been around. Like you'll see him on feature tracks. You know what I mean? He's always around Travis. You know,
I think it's your goal as an artist though. Like so if you look at it in music, right? You have Kendrick, and you just name like greats. You know what I mean? And the greats are gonna pay very close attention to their craft. Because it speaks to like who they are as a name. I mean, there are, and I'll show you the example of a great who does the opposite. So they're almost like protecting their like image or their name. And I'll say I'm gonna go and play both sides of the fence throughout this conversation. But because that's where my mind is. But while they do that and protect their name, they're also like sadly reserving a part of them, their craft, from like their audience. Whereas on the exact opposite side of the spectrum, you have I would consider Kanye
or Drake.
Drake drops a lot of shit. I think he does it. He's not a Drake fan. We'll get it.
I'm not saying I'm not a Drake fan, but I got a standpoint on this.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Let me go with
finish this point
though. Yeah. So the reason why I like not just fuck with Kanye, but like honestly like admire Kanye as a musician and as an artist is because he gives his raw, he puts out his raw version of his art, which artists hate to do. I hate to do. Like I'm a perfectionist. When it comes to my art, like I don't know if you're into astrology, like I got Virgo and like in my chart, and like I'm just like really like perfection, like I don't want you to really see it. But when I show it to you, I'm like, listen, like I just did this, like and he's just like, yo, I'm gonna put this out. I don't even got no words. I'm over here mumbling on some melodies and shit with some auto-tune on it. But like this is my heart. Like this is what I did. Listen to it. And then he goes back and he's like, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna tweak it a little bit, and then I'm gonna give it back to you.
He probably had some moments where he thought it went back. Like I don't know. Did y'all watch the Ye documentary at all? I don't know if you noticed, like on the Ye documentary, like when his first album, you know, he got that was, you know, grinding. He was in grind mode right there. Like,
for sure,
got it out the mud. Like, so you can see, like, you can feel the difference, like you know, the work, the grind in his music at that moment, like the way he was playing it to all, like Pharrell, he played it to, you know, and everybody was, you know, not even realizing that he was the rapper. Like, I feel like you could kind of see just like, I don't know, just like the feeling in the music, just like it was just raw, like you said, like it was something different that hit, you know, even when he was rapping with the wires on his mouth, like
it was the passion in it.
Yeah. But that's, and I'm gonna speak from my own personal experience because I struggle with this a lot too. So it's funny that you bring up Drake because Drake has one line that I really do love where he says like the second I stop having fun with it, I'll be done with it.
Yeah.
So like when I first started like with photography and I was like doing more so videography, I was all over the place, dog. Like at every event, I'm there.
Right.
Shoot, I'm there.
Yeah.
You need me to film something. You trying to submit a tryout video for, it was a BET thing going on at the time. I'm like, I'm there. I'm gonna do it. I'm shooting everything, and I was just passionate about it. Like I'm there. I'm spending hours in my room, just sometimes just staring at the screen, like how the fuck am I going to edit this? And it's just coming to me. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm knocking this project out, and it's not because I was concerned with meeting any deadlines, but it's just because I was passionate about it. And then it's like I like grew and developed. Maybe it was in my head, but I started to feel like people was like, all right, what's Bull gonna put out next? Like, what type of thing he's going? So then I was in my heavy photography bag and I was just like, yo, I gotta do a shoot. Like, I gotta do at least like 3 or 4 shoots a week.
Especially if you follow photographers and they're dropping shit.
And then
it's turned to a competitive thing.
I want to touch on that topic too. But it's just like, fuck, like so I find myself like putting photos out like on a schedule. Like, all right, I got 20 shots from this shoot. I'm only going to post 12, or 9 maybe. I got 3 rows. Like Instagram posts 3 pictures in a row, so it's 3 photos in a row. I'm going to post these 9 of this shoot, but I'm going to take 9 days to do it, and then I'm going to move on to the next shoot. That way, I got all this content. It's like a steady flow. But then after a while, I was just like, this shit not fun no more. I'm just posting on a schedule just for the sake of you posting on a schedule because I think people want to see it.
Right.
And it's just like,
I mean, so there's tools out there that like, okay, if that's not your thing, then you upload them into whatever this platform is, and it spits them out like across the next 4 weeks. And it's like, okay, now you don't have to overthink it. Now you just worry about your next shoot. I mean, you still got to be on your next shoot, or there's gonna be a gap.
But it doesn't. But that doesn't feel like the same thing. Almost like, I don't know. Maybe it's not because I never tried that.
Right.
But to me, it's just like this overwhelming sense of having to constantly push
on
it
the
out.
schedule.
It's definitely an overwhelming sense because it's not just that. It's also you probably checking the likes, you checking the comments. Like it's all of that shit combined. It's all of the social media aspects combined. That's really getting to your head, like, this photo had
like,
more likes
social
because
media
I dropped
really
it soon.
That shit built a lot of anxiety for a lot of motherfuckers, bro.
I guess my question is, and I want to move on to what something you brought up, the competitive thing. I guess the question is, if your creativity is on a schedule constantly, do you really feel like it's like creative in a sense, or do you feel like you just trying to meet deadlines at this point?
You're just dropping content.
That's the thing, content versus artistry. It's like, I can't, like, it's kind of like, don't get me wrong, this was dope. It was a dope project, but back to the music thing, like when Frank Ocean dropped, what was it called? Endless?
Right.
That was very much I'm just trying to give y'all this so I can get on my contract. Type of
sure, but there's like a lot of elements to it. Like, you'd be surprised what you can do in a time crunch. You know what I mean? Like creativity, we think that it's this thing that, like, especially as artists, we want to spend time because we really enjoy the process. So it's like, I want to take my time with this. I want to listen to it 1,000,000 times or watch it or review it 1,000,000 times. I want to get it perfect to the point where I love it. And a lot of our followers, our consumers, you know what I mean, that enjoy the art, they don't have the same like mindset. Like whether you took a week or 3 years on it, they just want the like sometimes they just want the content. Like as long as it ain't shit that you just feeding them, you'd be surprised. You can make something in an hour and people could be like, I fucking love this shit. Yeah. Keep going. Yeah. So
you got those fans that are gonna listen to that shit regardless and love that shit regardless.
And not to say that one is better than the other, just saying like I think as artists we get so caught up in like the process of it that we like obsess over it and to the point where it could be at our detriment. Like we obsess about the art, the process of making the art so much that we lose sight of either why we're doing it or how it's consumed by the consumer.
So I want to talk about what you said, like the competitive aspect of it. I won't say I was raised competitively, but I was raised in a competitive household. If that makes sense. I'm the youngest of 2 brothers. Been involved in like physical sports pretty much our whole life. Like martial arts, boxing, football, basketball, like anything that is like competitive base is like, we in there. Even down to like what we watch is like, especially combat. I'm gonna get back to this reason in a second, but like combat sports, especially like rather be like boxing, mixed martial arts, wrestling. Like if it's somewhere football, if it's somewhere 2 people going head to head or 2 people going head to head, it's like, we in there. So I kind of always had like this weird competitive spirit in me. So it didn't help when I got older and like I turned into an artist. I'm on Instagram. I'm like seeing all these different like whether it's like top tier photographers that I follow or like it's people like on my level, whatever the case is. It's like, man, I gotta figure out a way to be better than all these.
Right. You're like, okay, I see what you're doing.
Fuck this guy. No, not fuck this guy, but fuck this guy. But yeah, it's just like in the like the social media thing doesn't help with likes and shit like that. It doesn't help shit. Fuck, I only got 50 likes on this photo. And you post the next photo and it's like you got 100 plus likes. Like, fuck it. I hit, but I got this one's a hit.
Right.
And you're just like constantly in this fucking competitive space. So like I guess my question is, how do y'all feel about competitiveness in the creative space? Because I have my feelings on it and I'm gonna get back to it. But like, how do you feel? Like, do you ever see some shit like you went to correct me if I'm wrong, you went to like a beat battle recently, right?
No, I wasn't in a beat battle. I'll say this. When it comes to competitiveness, it's weird for me. I can be competitive. I enjoy competitiveness. I think it's very fun to me. It's fun to me.
It is.
When it comes to art, I don't know why I'm not competitive. I don't know if it's a confidence thing or if it's just like I said with my music, like when I absorb music, like I really take my time with it. With competition, I feel like it's very fast paced and like you have to like rush to absorb it and make a decision. I don't know what it is.
Can it distract you from your own your own craft?
Absolutely. Sorry.
That's a great point. Yes, it can distract you from your own craft. Because now you're listening to someone else's shit or trying to, basically what you do is
you become the motherfucker scrolling on Instagram like, what's going on?
Either that or you get away from who you are.
Yes.
Because now you're thinking, what can I do to impress somebody else? And it's not about when I make my best art, it's not about anybody else. I make my best art for me. Every time I make my best art, it's like, I want this, like, I need this to be created from my brain to conception to reality, like, regardless of who fucks with it or not. Like, and if nobody fucks with it,
that's okay.
If I made it and it was for me, I'm actually still happy. I can have 0 likes on some shit and be like, yeah, but I did that. Like, you know, I don't know. That's just,
See, my problem.
I was like total opposite. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, my problem for a long time was just like, and I feel like to your point, like how you was like, I feel like my shit is good. I feel like everybody should feel that way, like to a detriment almost, especially as a creative.
Yeah.
You should feel like your shit is always gonna be the hottest shit. Even if in the back of your mind you know somebody that's like, oh, they on my ass, or they might be better than me.
Right.
You should still feel like, no, fuck that, I'm number one. Like to the Ye documentary, for example.
Go ahead.
He was on some shit like, and I appreciate Kanye to a fault almost. Cause like I look at him as like the creative side of him, not the person.
Right.
The creative side of him is like, I like this boy.
Yeah.
Cause he's on the same wavelength as me. He's like, ain't nobody fucking seeing me. And so I feel like every creative should feel that way. But then it kind of like, it does, in a sense, create a competitive atmosphere that shouldn't always be there. But also at the same time, it's like, nah, fuck that, because I'm good too.
But see, I don't see it in the same aspect. So I appreciate Kanye the same way. But even what I got from the documentary was not like, I'm better than all these niggas. It wasn't that. It was, I'm nice.
I'm trying to prove you.
No, but those things are very different. It's not like
I agree with you on that.
It's not like, why the fuck are you fucking with him? You should be fucking with me. I'm the best. Like maybe now sometimes he can be a little cocky like that. Yeah. And he has a lot of
he
shit
came a long way to be that way though.
Sure. But that version of Kanye, that 20-year-old version of Kanye was just like, I'm nice. Yeah. Like, just trust that I'm nice. Yeah, nigga got mad. I know I'm nice. And it wasn't like I'm better than this one.
That was his energy.
He had that. Remember that? He was like, yo, this dude was the best producer rapper out there. And he was like, nigga, I don't want to be the best producer rapper. Just say I'm the best rapper. I'm not even just saying the best rapper. I'm a rapper. Like that's what I want to be. Like just like that's like saying he didn't want to
be the best. He just wanted to be I'm a good rapper.
Yeah. Like, I'm good. And I want my name to be on the you know what I mean, be here.
Like that's how I approach my art. Like it's not like fuck with that. Like sure, I can be competitive, but it's not like I don't need to be the best. Like if you fuck with that bull better than you fuck with me, that's cool. That means that my shit ain't for you. Yeah. There's billions of people in this world. Yeah. I just know that my shit is nice and somebody out there fucks with it heavy. Yeah. Like even if they never heard it before, I know because I know my shit that someone's gonna fuck with it heavy.
And candidly speaking, it took me a long time to break out of that space because like again, that competitive side of me, like even down to like when I would go play football, like on Sundays and some shit like that, like I would get in my head like, man, we ain't talking my fucking hands on this ball. I'm gonna show these niggas like I'm out here.
Y'all niggas is trash.
And I got mopped a couple of times. I'm gonna get back up. I'm gonna be right back out here. Watch.
That's a good mindset.
It's just a sense of pride that a lot of niggas have too. You grew up in that competitive background, like just step off.
One thing that happened is I kind of stopped having fun with like being creative. Like I'm just now getting back into creative space. Like as I stopped having fun, like being a creative.
What got you out of it?
Several things. Personal life things. I just stopped having, like I literally stopped having fun.
Right.
Like between, like at the time I stopped, I was doing a lot of photography. Mainly that was my focus. Mm-hmm. So between seeing, I guess you would call it oversaturation. And then seeing, like, there are a handful of models that I work with, or a handful of people, I should just say people in general, because the people I did video work for too, where I seen them, like, they took it somewhere, and I was like, damn, like, even if I didn't get anywhere, like, as far as they did, I'm like, damn, I'm attached to that. Like, I'm glad to see they got somewhere. Like, I'm glad to see that they took it seriously.
Right.
Even if they're like, this is one person I shot, they're less like a fitness, like a fitness person. One of those, like, I guess you call it fitness gurus on Instagram. They got a good following,
right?
And they dedicated to it now. But they started off just like taking photos. Like I want it to look like this. I'm like, all right, cool. And then they took it somewhere. Or there's a guy I shot. It's a guy I shot for, and he's like, he went on to move to New York. He did a couple of big things. I'm like, cool. I'm glad to see that I was a part of that. But a large majority of it was just people like, yeah, I want to do this shoot because, for lack of a better term, they just wanted to look cute on Instagram. Yeah. And I'm just like, this shit dead. Like, I'm
right. You gotta,
I'm good. So I kind of fell out of love with it. It was personal life things going on.
Yeah.
Candid, like, relationship things.
You felt like you got away from you?
In a sense, yeah. But that's another topic. getting away from me. Like, yeah, I definitely got away from me and who I was. And that was like between that process, I had to go to therapy for a while. That was like a whole experience.
But
bro.
everything that we've been talking about is about like keeping you know what I mean? Like keeping balance with yourself. Like
staying true to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like when you get away from you, and I've done it myself. I don't know if you could speak to it as well. But like when you get away from you get away from like you said, you lose your passion when you up here on the fucking calendar and shit. You lose your passion. Like you get away from. I think art and creating in general is a way to, like pull from your your inner child. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And reach towards your inner child. So when you get away from it and you have to do all these adult like things, you can lose sight of it, and there's a balance to it. But you have to understand why you're doing it so that you hold on to it. Yeah. So
I want to segue into that topic. We talk about adult things and like creativity.
Yeah.
Trying to be a creative and trying to, I say 9 to 5 vaguely because hours vary, but trying to be a creative and trying to work a 9 to 5 or an adult job.
Right.
I'm in that situation. You're in that situation too. Yeah. How do you feel like that affects your creativity? Do you feel like that kills your creativity, or do you feel like that drives your creativity? I feel like we might have two different answers, but I want to know what
it could be both.
Yeah.
It could be both, because you could be losing that drive just from being at work, just like, yo, this shit is boring as hell at work. And then you could, you know what I mean, just be ready to be like, yo, this ain't for me. This 9 to 5 ain't for me. I gotta actually put more work into my craft, you could play devil's advocate with that. It could either make or break you in that situation. I don't know about y'all, but I think that when you work in a 9 to 5, it's like, yo, this is some ass shit. I don't want to do this no more.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. For me, it actually drives me. Like I know some people. I know a couple of people just like, yo, it kills me. Like I gotta be out. Like I gotta quit. Like I've had conversations with people like that. Like to this day, like that I currently work with. They like the shit I want to do, and like being here, it just kills my motivation to do it. For me, I'm there. I'm like, it drives me because it makes me want to figure out a way to not have to do that anymore. Like I don't even realize it. For the most part, I actually like my job.
Yeah.
But as a creative, I want to be a creative for a living. Like that's what I want to do with my life.
Right.
So when I'm there, I'm like, how can I make this happen so I don't gotta be here anymore?
Right.
And I find myself daydreaming about creative projects while I'm at work.
Oh yeah,
all the time.
But I think it's very hard to do it without work. So
you need that. You need that income, though. You need that.
For example, during COVID, were y'all ever in the house for an extended period of time without working?
I wasn't.
I had too much time on my hands. Like, and that I feel like that's what was killing it for me. Like
you said you was working?
Yeah, so we was both working. I was working at the store, and
I was
that shit.
In the crib.
Yeah, he was in the crib. You know what I mean? So I was like, we was going back and forth. Like he was like, "Yo, this shit chilling."
Yeah, and then asked, I was like, "I'm going right to the crib."
Yeah, but I think like just just watching everybody else work from home, or just find a way to, like, I felt like it gave them time for themselves, and to like. A lot of people learn to work on their own craft when they had their free time, because when you working from home, you still got a lot of free time by doing that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even if you're working, you still have a lot of free time to do, and it actually gives you that opportunity to mainly focus on something that you're actually really good at, or you know what I mean. So I didn't get that opportunity.
So you didn't have the opportunity, like I don't know, even like 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time.
No, we were there every day. Like we didn't shut down the retail store. It was like fucking working at a supermarket, bro. That shit was crazy.
Yeah, for me, it was so like me, time has always been my best friend and my worst enemy, all in one. So like for me, like back to my childhood growing up, like when I was growing up, I used to be in like plays and all types of shit. So like I would have to go to this rehearsal. I would have to be at this place, at school, work, whatever the case was. I always had something else going on. So I always had something to occupy me and something to dedicate my energy to. when the pandemic hit and I found myself with a bunch of time, it started off very productive. And then it quickly turned into like, damn, like I got too much time on my hands. It's like I found myself having like, I got in trouble, like, because it's just like I didn't have anywhere to put that energy, and I was just home.
You just didn't. You didn't.
I didn't execute it properly.
Yeah.
That's all. So it was just like, for some reason,
and it hit us so fast. We didn't know what to do with that
for
time.
For some reason, when I work or like my time is occupied, I work better. I work for some weird reason. I work better when I have to find time to do something than when I have time to do something.
So the reason why I asked it is because you appreciate time better. Yeah. Like time itself is precious.
Facts.
And time, like time can be precious. Time can be a bitch also.
Mm-hmm.
But I say that to say, by working and understanding, like, okay, I'm limited on my time, just like how we talked about earlier, like to tie it back to like being on a deadline. Like time can be precious if you understand it and you're like, I only have this time for my creativity and I love being creative. So when I get in this space, I'm gonna fuck it up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like all the time that you spend outside of that space, like the moments where you can be either subconscious or just like you know what I mean, where you can like not be too in the moment with your work shit, you're gonna go back to your creative mind and you're gonna be like, yo, when I get like, I don't know about y'all, but when I'm at work, I'm like, I'm either writing a song, I'm coming up with a design, like unless I'm like actually talking to somebody or like specifically doing something,
that whole time
I'm spending all
take advantage of all your spare time
moments. All the in between moments. I'm preparing myself to create so that when I get home, like, and when I do it right, when I get home and I have the energy, I'm going crazy. Like I'm like I was ready. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like I use my voice memo app. Like I'll go take a break and go, not even a break. I'll just go into the bathroom and be like, and hum some shit in my phone, just because like I was just like I try to use every chance I get to be creative. So if I'm even on my days off when I'm not doing shit, I walk to the mall and I see some shit and I go, take this picture. You know what I mean? I use that for later. It's like all about like I don't know. I value time because time is so precious.
I miss that energy, dog. Like,
yo,
I used to be like, I was so like enveloped in like the photography side of things. Like, I would walk down the street and like, you know how there's certain musical artists, they be like, I can see sounds.
Yeah.
Like I think Pharrell and Kanye said that, like they both said that at one point. Like, I can see music. It got to the point like I would walk down the street and like, that's a picture. That's a picture.
Yeah.
That's a video. Like that. And I won't say I don't have that anymore.
I feel that.
Like,
I don't know if that's I don't know if that's age and time, but like me now versus me when I first started like Jawn clothing, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
First got it, like when I even like one album that really inspired me was like Gambino's Jawn, because the internet. And like me then is not the same as me now. Like I was very much more inspired then. Not to say that I'm not inspired, but just like when you're younger, you always feel like anything's possible.
Right.
And as you get older and it's sad.
Yeah.
But as the world like comes down on your shoulder,
it's like reality kick in, you lose that innocence, all of that shit.
You lose all of that. You lose a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Then that's why as a creative, it's important to create for you and not for nobody else. Because when you create for other people, you're like, like you started like taking all the fucking rules of the world, and you're like, I'm old, and you just like you come up with reasons why you shouldn't create. Whereas back then, you probably was like, you're hungrier, like this 20-year-old Kanye from the documentary.
Yeah,
he's hungrier. So that's why I think that's to wrap to circle it back. That's why I think it's really important to create for you.
Yeah,
because otherwise you over time or time itself, that's why I said time can be a bitch. Time will come back to you and be like, You know what I mean? You shouldn't be doing this. You should be saving your 401k or some shit. Yeah. So to talk to that, so we talked about time a little bit and like doing something over time, and then eventually you're like, damn, I wish I had the same fire that I had. I think that's what it boils down to. Honestly, it's like when you first had that fire, the reason why you were so hyped was because it was new, and the experimentation inside of creativity is something that excites you as an artist. You know what I mean? Because you're learning, creating, you're feeling, growing. You're doing all these things at the same time, and then you get into this rhythm and this pattern as an artist, and you're like, oh, I always started like this. I always turn a knob 75 degrees. Oh, you know what I mean? Right, you always start doing it. The next thing you know, you're doing some familiar ass shit, and you're like, and it's not creative anymore. It's just like you're creating, but you're not being creative.
That's a fact.
But when you're younger in it, or just like when you're new in it, it's about being creative. So like, if you are an artist, the challenge to you is to always like challenge yourself. And again, not to keep going back to Kanye, but that's why I fuck with he does change his style, and he challenges himself. He's like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do some fucking Rage of the Machines. I'm gonna do some fucking gospel shit. And like, me personally right now, during COVID, I bought a guitar, right? I used to play guitar when I was in, I think I started in elementary. In middle school, I was playing the guitar in the jazz band, and I just kind of like put it away. And I used to take lessons. This dude would come to the crib every day and like teach me. I used to hate that shit. But my parents put me onto it, and like, and I wish, honestly, looking back, that I took it more seriously. But then once COVID hit, for whatever reason, I was like, yo, I'm in the crib. I wish I had a fucking guitar so I could practice and be nice. Like I just started thinking about like life as a big picture. And now the reason I'm bringing this up is now I'm like buying these fucking distortion and fuzz pedals, and I'm like into like this like alternative R&B rock, like fusion. Like I don't even like listen. Like now I have to like listen to new shit to find out what the sound is that I'm trying to create, and then I'm experimenting, and it's fun as fuck. And it's like that's what being like continuing to keep your happiness as a creative is all about. It's like, sure, you're great at photography, but like, how are you now expanding and like experimenting? Because originally that's what it was. It was experimentation.
So this brings up my next. I have a question.
Yeah.
Does your why for why you chose to be a creative change? So like sometimes with creatives, you always kind of have like this naturally creative talent. You don't realize it until you start exploring it, and then you decide like, yeah, I'm going to be a creative. But like, you might start off with a why as to why you're doing it, and that could change. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when I decided I wanted to be a creative, it was more on some shit like, I want to create art and I want to be a creative, and I want to leave some shit that's like tangible, so that like long after I check, like even if it's just my kids or my grandkids or my great grandkids, they can look at some shit that I did and be like, yo, your great grandpa did this or your grandpa did this. Like, it was kind of like, for me, I had this like weird obsession with like kind of leaving a legacy behind.
That's not a weird obsession at all.
And it's just like, I wanted to have something tangible. Like, you can take a pic, like the way I looked at it is like, you can take a picture, and the picture you took, that moment could have came and went. Like, I can take a picture, and I took that picture 20 years ago, but I froze that 20-year ago moment in time, and we moved on. And it could be like a wedding picture, or it could just be like a picture just out in the street. Like, you ever see the pictures of like West Philly from like back? Like, I grew up literally around the corner from 52nd and Market. So like, I remember what 52nd and Market looked like back in like 96 or like 95. And I'll see a picture from back then. I'm like, oh shit. Like, it'll take me back to a time, and it'll put me in that place. And this is like, damn, they like, somebody took that picture, and they like, they created that moment for somebody.
That's what art does all the time.
And that's what originally, that's what
inspired you.
That's what inspired me. Like, I want to leave something tangible so people can see and people can look and like, damn, he made that, or he made that, he froze that moment, or created that video, whatever the fucking case is, or that song, or wherever it is. And it's just like, that happened. Now, for me, that's what art was for me. It was like, one, taking something, taking nothing and turning it into something, like to music, where your point is. A beat doesn't start as a beat. Like, it's literally this, when you open Ableton or Fruity Loops or Logic, it's just a blank, well, not a blank screen, but it ain't shit there.
It ain't shit there.
And you literally map the whole thing out. Like, you create that from scratch.
Right.
And at the end of you, like, yeah, I did it. I'm at the end now. I made that shit. Like, I've reached a point where I feel like it's perfect, and I'm gonna put it out in the universe.
Right.
Yeah. And so for me, that's what it was. It was just like creating something, making something, and leaving it there. And like, this is my artistic contribution to life. Right. So that's what it was for me. But like,
that's your why.
What was your why? Like, what made you want to pursue being a creative?
You got that one.
Honestly, I don't think I had it. I don't think I had a choice. Like, if I really go back, I felt like creativity chose me. Like, I have memories of being in church at the age of, I don't know, 5, 6 maybe, and like drawing on a piece of paper and like telling a story like based on the like drawing. Like I've always been engulfed in it because it's just always been a part of me. And so like creativity for me, or creating for me, is very personal. Like I said, my music is very, like, I have so many songs that I haven't even let nobody listen to. Like,
I know, motherfucker.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. and it's like, it's actually like difficult for me to like release, or like, okay, let this go. Don't be so attached to it, because it's so personal, because I feel like it chose me. Like, when it comes to art, when it comes to music, like, there's so many things that I've created over time that like, the reason I create them is not even for anyone else to see it. It's just for me.
Yo, okay.
It's so personal that once I let someone see it, it almost I don't want to say this, but I'm gonna say it. It almost like loses a element. It almost drops down a level, because it's like, you know what I mean? Now you don't even have the understanding behind it. But I'm gonna let you see it.
I always wondered this. Like, I'm glad like now we're having this discussion, even though it's like in this moment, it's just like, because I remember like we would be at your crib or Ray Bueno crib, and like we would be in the sessions like at Ableton, like we would be creating music. I'm like, why don't this motherfucker drop music? Like the few songs you did drop, I would let people hear it and be like, yo, this shit is fire. But like, he could like, why don't he do this? And like, now it makes sense. Like, when you explain it,
like, the shit that I let go is the shit that like I've eventually come to a point where I'm like, I don't need this for me. Like I get like you've grown now. Go into the world. Like I don't know. Or either that, or I created it. When I created it, I wasn't so attached to it. I wasn't as attached to it. Like, there's stuff that like I'll probably never show nobody. And then there's stuff that like over time I either can grow to appreciate its beauty and say, you know what, other people need to hear it. And there's like very close people to me who I'm like, I trust them enough to like not judge my wording, my whatever, my
I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit.
Exactly. And again, not to keep going back to fucking Kanye, but that's why I respect the shit out of him, because it's like, yo, you created some shit. Your fucking voice was off as shit. You fucking cracked on that note, bro. Like, you didn't even have no words right here, and you let the all billion of us hear it. Yeah, that's bold as fuck. Like, and you're talking about your ex-wife. She not even your ex-wife yet. Like, like, and your kids. Like, yo, you just poured your heart to the world. Like, fucking respect the shit out of that. Cause like, I'll go through some like little ass breakup with some chick I know for 3 months and be like, you know what I mean? And pour my shit into some music so I can get it off my chest. And it's therapeutic as fuck. And it still sounds beautiful. And there's a melody. And I bump that shit on. I bump my own shit on repeat. Like I bump my own shit on. I'll be at work with the headphone in with my dreads down, so can't nobody tell my headphone in. And I bump my own shit at work. And it's like, yo, you took that and blasted it to the world. That's ball. Like I respect the fuck out of you as an artist, as a man, whatever. Yeah.
So like you as somebody who's consuming art, do you want more of that, or do you like? Do you fuck with that when people are like
raw,
or just raw, to like throwing shit out there? Or do you always want the refined? Like speaking strictly from a consumer perspective,
right, for sure.
Do you always want the super refined shit, or do you see value in like somebody just putting some like arguably unfinished shit out there? Like, do you look at them like I can appreciate that?
Nah, I definitely, when it comes to people that are just dropping shit, I definitely can appreciate the raw music, regardless of the quality of it. I mean, not everybody's gonna drop great shit when people are dropping. You know, you gotta understand, like you got the Kanye. Kanye's gonna drop an album. You don't know what you're gonna feel about it. When Drake drops an album, you don't know what you're gonna feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can appreciate it at the same time, because it's just like it's quality regardless at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So rather if it's great or not, I personally, I'm a huge J. Cole fan.
Okay.
From the day one, Friday Night Lights, the Come Up, all of that shit. So like, I do appreciate what he drops, and I make sure that like I always try to get something out of it, whether if it's great or not. I always make sure to get something out of it when it comes to it, whether lyrically, whether quality, quantity, all of that. Like I make sure that you know what I mean, get something out of it in any type of way out of it. Shit. So
I think he's very refined. I would say he's very refined. Cole drops mixtape. Well, he used to drop mixtapes, but he doesn't anymore because he's very refined. You know what I mean? Kendrick, Cole, it's a lot of artists like that.
But Cole tries to stay on the scene as much as possible, like just to keep that relevancy compared to like a Kendrick or like a Frank Ocean. Like, you know what I mean? Like he'll drop a feature, or he'll like the album that he dropped the off season. Like, do
you think he loses his artistry when he does that?
Well, dropping
as a fan,
like consistently?
Yeah,
definitely. I fell away from Cole more and more as the time went, I would say, compared to like, because I was a big fan, the Born Center, you know what I mean? And then I started realizing like, he just wanted to drop shit at this point. You know what I mean? So like,
I will argue that though.
What? Born Center might be his best album. Personally,
from
lyrically,
perspective,
you could feel it in it.
Because I'm a Cole fan too.
Right.
Okay.
I would argue, honestly, that Cole has actually gotten better than he was before. Because I feel like
I just feel like the fan base he has.
I don't know. I feel like, you know what, it goes back to the artistry side of it. When I hear Cole rap now, his tone to me, it sounds like, I don't gotta do this shit. I'm doing you a favor.
Nah, but I don't like that though. Cause
I like that type of shit.
Because I need it straight from the roots. Like I gotta feel that shit. Like I don't want you to have that cocky vibe. You know what I mean? Like,
do you listen to Benny the Butcher at all?
I listened to his last album.
Did you hear the joint he got with J. Cole, Johnny
P's Caddy? Yeah, Johnny P's Caddy.
When I heard Cole verse on that shit, it sounded like some shit like,
fuck y'all.
Hey, yo, like it was like, fuck y'all, I don't gotta do this shit. I'm better than half you motherfuckers out here. Like, I'm really bull. And again, it could be the competitive side of me, but I heard the verse and I was like, yeah, talk your shit. But at the same time, for me, it's carrying that energy of like, I know I'm top tier.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that I could put 10 verses out, or I could disappear for 6 years. And either way, y'all still gonna be here to listen to this shit.
Yeah, but I think he loses that you know, that personal connection with those fans. As a consumer, I think, you know, for J. Cole, I definitely lost, like, even if he drops a feature, I'll hear it every now and then and I'll just push it away.
Does he lose the personal connectivity, or is he just not speaking your language anymore?
All right, so that might be it, because look, I'm listening to the Come Up in my college dorm. You know what I mean? Like, he's talking about when he was at, you know what I'm saying?
But you're talking about a different Cole, but go ahead.
Right. But it's just that personal connection that I had with him and from that art that he had. You know what I mean? So It's just like if I can listen to a song that brings me back to a specific time, or it brings me to a specific moment. You know what I mean? That art is something that I will forever feel. You know what I mean? Like,
do you think that I don't want to call it fast music, but like his features, etc., don't hold space and time?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I feel like for me it's both. So there are two different versions of Cole, because now Cole now is at the point where he's like, I'm top of the food chain as far as like lyricism goes. I'm out here. But then there's Cole in the beginning.
He's not top of his food chain, but go ahead.
That's an arguable point. But that's a sidebar. And I'm willing to argue that.
I'm agree.
I got that saying. I'm willing to fist fight over my opinion.
That.
Nah, Cole's my favorite rapper, but it's something different about it now, man.
But like when I worked at our current situation the first time around, he got this song called Breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And he was basically talking about how he like the bar was like, he was talking about how he like cried basically. He was like, when I say a minute, I mean years, man. Damn, a well could swam in them tears, fam.
Yeah.
At the time when I was listening to that bar, I had recently lost a family member, and it was just like, I'm not a crier bull. Like I don't cry very often at all. Like probably the last time I cried is the moment I'm referencing, but some years ago. And I was like, I related to that song because it's like, damn, yeah, like I'm going through something like that. I'm gonna shed a few tears over this. I lost a family member. I lost my grandma. But now, again, the Cole now is where he's just like, I'm top tier. Like this is where I'm at. Is the off season, is to come up, whatever it is. Like I'm about to be on your heads. That side of me also appreciates Cole because it's like, yeah, like I like the competitive nature. I like what he's talking about. I like the he had a bar on like the song Johnny P's Caddy, which is this year.
He spit crazy on that shit.
He was like, I'll probably go to hell if Jesus asked for a feature.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I like that energy. I'm out here. I'm vibing with that.
He's been taking advantage of every feature he has.
For me, it's like it's certain artists that no matter where they are, they're at in their life, they always speak my language with their art. Like Kanye's another one. For some reason, I don't know why. Maybe because I grew up listening to him. Like Kanye's been around in the industry for like 20 plus years.
Right.
So at every phase of my life, I listen to him and I can always like relate to one point in his music. So maybe it's just maybe we just get to a point where our artists in any medium maybe they just stop speaking your language at some point.
Yeah.
I think what it boils down to,
or are they speaking another language?
They can be,
yeah,
but what it really boils down to is the artist understanding who they are, like understanding themselves to the point where whether they're on a feature, whether there's some quick verse that they threw out, or an entire album, that they understand themselves so that like they're still the same artist. You know what I mean? Like you still see them in whatever they are creating, and they never lost themselves because they knew themselves the whole time. You know what I mean? Yes. Or they poured themselves into their art, whether it was fast, whether it was a deadline, whether it was, you know what I mean? Like because once you know yourself, you can pour yourself into some shit. But it's like, when you don't know yourself as an artist, I think that's when you start to question yourself and start to change what you are and what you create. So it's like, oh, I'm this type of photographer. When I take my time, I love that shit. But like, because I've been watching all these fucking 30 photographers I follow and check up on, I'm gonna try their shit a little bit. They start influencing my style, and now I'm doing some other shit. Whereas the greats, like Ye and Andre 3000, etc., they know who they are. Like, that's what makes them great. You know what I mean?
One thing I would say about Cole specifically, like I feel like in his music, you could see that he was starting to change. Like, you know, from the first few albums, he had that hunger And then I feel like after Forest Hills Drive, you know, when he dropped For Your Eyes Only, I felt like he was just like, because he had a few songs that dropped before that was called Everybody Dies, where he was just talking about killing the new style rappers.
Right.
And I'm like, you saying that, but then on KOD you start rapping like these new style rappers. Like, so I'm like, are you fitting in, or are you trying to just say that I could kill the game by being y'all niggas?
That was his competitiveness.
Yeah. So and I personally think that like that's where I started losing that touch, because it's just like you started pushing yourself away from your original self.
You're right.
I kind of want to segue into a more personal topic.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about like how artists change throughout life and how life affects artistry. The personal topic I want to segue into is, how do you feel like relationships and people you're dealing with or are with or locked in with or maybe just even dating, how do you feel like that affects artistry? Because this is an interesting topic.
I need some water.
I'll let Chuck go into this. I want to hear this
topic that I want to speak.
No,
you can be as candidly or as reserved as you want.
I'll let you go.
Let me go first. All right, cool. No shame in my game.
You said what? You said how do outside relationships
like
influence your art?
You got a shorty issue with it. Could be you were with her forever. It could be a short amount of time. I know for me personally, again speaking candidly, there me making myself kill. There was a lot of compromise involved.
Be impeccable with your words.
Yeah, crafty. No, not crafty. There had to be a lot of compromise involved.
Yeah.
Just because I had to find a balance between being creative and what I saw as creativity and what she saw as creativity, and how we balanced that and managing feelings, like just having those, I guess you could say, adult conversations, like, How did this, when I went and did this, how did this make you feel? Were you uncomfortable? Like, again, speaking candidly, just being a photographer, like it might be a shorty in the studio and it's just like, I gotta do this shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna be okay with this? Having those uncomfortable conversations, do you feel like it creates a moment where it kind of dampens your creativity, whether it's working with somebody on a set or working with somebody musically or whatever the case is? Or do you feel like as long as the conversations are in place and as long as this, the communication is in place, do you feel like it'll be okay? You can speak to this as candidly or as vague as you want.
That's all you say you don't want it. Amen. Amen.
Not y'all hot potato one, bro. Somebody speak.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll speak to it. I have a lot of experience with it. I will say this, as a person that takes my creativity personally.
Careful now, brother.
Take your time, baby. No, as a person that takes my creativity personally, I have the, I don't even know what the word is. I end up pouring myself into my music, into my art, into my craft, like freely. And the more freely I do it, the better the art is. You know what I mean? And the more real I am, the better the art is. But when you're with somebody, they might not always understand all the aspects that go through, like all the aspects in your mind where you question yourself, where you contradict yourself, where you know what I mean? Where you just do some shit that like you don't even say out loud. It's just your brain. It's your dreams. It's your nightmares. And me, the way that I process that shit is to pour it into my art.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get it out. It's meditation. It's therapy. It's all of that shit. And so if you don't have somebody that can understand that shit can get real like bad real fast. Like, because they're gonna dissect it. They're gonna be like,
yeah.
So in the second verse, you said,
what the fuck did this mean?
You said this, that, and the other. Like, are you talking about this person? Like, what did you mean by that?
Is this prior? Is this current? And if this is current, then why do you feel this way?
I would say personally, I can get carried away with myself on certain things. You know what I mean? Where they gotta question it after. You gotta, you know what I mean, explain yourself that, you know what I mean, this is just my art. This is my work right here. So don't take this personal at all.
So like,
you know what I mean, but you gotta put it in art form in order for everybody else to understand.
But it's weird too, because like, so part of it is probably a little bit of truth, and part of it is probably a little bit of a exaggeration. Yeah, because
a little razzle dazzle
for the little razzle dazzle for the song. Like, so like I'm gonna take this small concept and I'm gonna expand upon it and I'm gonna write about it and make it into a song. And I think if you're not an artist, you can't comprehend that, and you take every word for what it is. And it's it can be very dangerous.
When you're looking from the outside in, you know what I mean? It's just like,
it can be
they don't understand it. So
yeah,
you know, that's all you can really say.
And outside of that, I will say, or on top of that, I will say, like, the time that you put in, that you invest.
Yes.
Like, the time that you put into your craft, you have to find somebody who is patient or understanding enough to value your need for space and your need for time.
So you have to find somebody that has that same type of like.
They don't even have to do it themselves, but they have to understand it. Right. Because like, okay, if I'm in the studio for 4 hours, I don't want you hitting me up every 15 minutes. Because I need you to know.
You gotta come from their perspective too, though. You know what I mean? Like, just to play devil's advocate.
1,000%. You know what I mean? But I need you to understand me because I'm me.
And that's
right.
And if you can't, there's 4 billion other Johns
to your point, though,
that can't understand me.
How do you come to that common ground?
That's not easy. That is where it gets interesting. Is like where you might, in the moment, you might be in a studio or at a shoot or whatever, and it's just like, yo, fuck, I'm trying to do my thing right now. And then you might come home afterwards and you're like, fuck, I might have reacted kind of crazy.
Hey, yo, and the insecurity started to add in and all. It's a lot of like little nuances, but it's like, yo, you have to find somebody that understands like the value, like how how important this shit is to you. Because like, again, if it's very personal, this shit is important to like your well-being, who you are when you come back to the crib. Like, if I can't release this shit,
but you gotta show that to them yourself though too, so they can understand that. And then you bring in that hard passion, you bring in that dedication to it, and they see that by you just putting in work, not even talking about it.
Yeah, right? So you have to be careful with that, even.
Yeah,
because they want
personally. Go ahead, bro.
Because okay, you was in the studio, you was talking about me. Who did you talk about in the studio? It's like, I was making music because I love music. But like, if they appreciate you and they appreciate you for your happiness, then they will respect the fact that
but they should definitely understand, especially if they know that that's a body of work that you're putting into. You know what I mean? So they gotta have that understanding that like, yo, this is appealing to everybody, not just, you know what I mean? This isn't coming from directly me or like, you know what I mean? So
to play devil's advocate, you do enter a space where it's hard,
right?
Because artist you has to be balanced with relationship you, and you have to kind of reach this middle ground where you're like, I'm creating something, and I'm working on something, I'm being an artist, and I'm pouring myself out into this. But I also understand your feelings, and so I'm willing to have this conversation.
Sure, I'll cross that road when I get there. I'm gonna say what the fuck I want to say.
Listen, and it sounds good. It sounds really good because as an artist, you want to be uncompromising in your art. But when you're in a relationship, when you're with someone, there's a lot of compromise involved. There's a lot of weed. There's a lot of selfless thinking, and
you don't want to make anybody look
person. You don't want to make anybody look crazy. So it's finding the balance between the two that can get tricky, and it gets less tricky as conversations are had. But
so what do you do to have that come to that common ground?
You have conversations. You constantly,
prior to or after,
all throughout, beginning, middle, and
you're honest with yourself.
For sure.
You're honest, and you're honest with yourself. Like, you have to understand what you need and want. Because if you don't, it's gonna come back to bite you later. Like, you can be like, oh, it's not a big deal. Oh, I'm gonna leave, and you're gonna be bitter about it, and then this shit gonna build, and then over time, like, it's like Like, you know what I mean? You're just like, damn, she always be on my back every time I do this thing. And because you wasn't expressive or transparent in the moment, now you're gonna blame her after the fact or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's crucial for every artist to be transparent to whoever they're with and be like, look, this is why I do this. This is what I do. This is what it looks like. This is a part of me. If you're not in the beginning, if you're not down for it, so be it. That's cool. But this is me. Because you need it. Because I don't know about, I can't speak for every artist, but as far as me, I need it. I don't give a fuck if nobody listen to any of my shit. Nobody wear any of my clothes. Nobody look at any of my art. It's for me. It's personal. And so if my person can't relate to that or can't understand that, then
yes, sir,
they can go because it's me, but it's just me.
We've reached the end, bros.
Thank
y'all for coming out. We will do this again soon because we're good talk. But I'm glad we had this discussion around creativity.
Absolutely.
Because it's discussions that need to be had. It's discussions that people want to talk about and engage in, but you kind of don't know how. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all coming through.
Yeah, I learned a lot from y'all today.
We're gonna take one last shot. We're gonna celebrate the first episode of this here pod. We're gonna run it up.
Amen.
Cheers, y'all. Appreciate y'all.
Woo!
That shit is so trash.
This shit is smooth, bro. I got sauce, but wait, that shit started kicking in on me.
Yes, sir.